We're going to call the Wednesday, May 18th, 2022 Board of Education meeting to order. Everyone please silence your electronic devices and we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Additions and deletions to the agenda since Friday mailing.
Yes, we'll be adding 6.14 for the business considerations, which was the results of the budget vote last night. And I only have 2 corrections to 7.2 and 7.8, and they'll be reflected in my minutes.
Okay. Can I get a motion for the additions? Mr. McFerrin, a second. Mrs. Klein, all in favor? Aye. Need a motion for the acceptance of the minutes of the May 4th, 2022 BOE meeting. Mr. McFerrin, Mrs. Hoteling, all in favor? All right. Awards, honors, recognitions, we have none. Hearings, petitions for the first segment, we do have one, and we will call up Matt Miller, please.
Good evening, everybody. It's a little hard sometimes. I know I come up here with different hats, so I'm here tonight just to talk about the presentation that'll be coming up, the agenda item on the bus stop arm cameras, in my role as county legislator, so not in my other roles. You guys talked last time and you're asking for an update. This is a great opportunity, this law that the county passed, with obviously the ultimate goal, whichever way the board wants to go with this tonight, the ultimate goal is obviously to protect kids. That's the main focus, right? How can we stop people from whizzing around these buses as they do on a pretty regular basis? So I just wanted to talk a little bit. I saw some of the presentation here quickly when I came in, and to me, one of the most important parts is, A, we can get the equipment for free. Free is always good. And the company will maintain everything. They'll handle all the issues. They put the equipment on the bus. They take care of it when it's not working. It's all available to you, etc. More importantly, I think, is even though it's not a criminal charge the person gets, it's just a civil penalty, is the fact that we can give that ticket without having to see the offense occur or having to send our SROs or whoever we're working with out to the person's houses. One of the ways that the system works right now is we can use the few that we have to write a ticket if we see that person go through it, but the officer has to go to the person's house, talk to them about it, and sort of get them to say, yes, we did it. They can't just write it based on the video evidence. The law that New York State has that the county adopted allows that to be done with no confrontation of the person, no discussion with the person, not going to their house. They simply use the video evidence, and the company that gets contracted for it looks at it. They run it through some whatever metrics they have, and if it's considered a violation, they take care of all the paperwork and sends everything out and gets the violation. They get most of the money from the violations. The county doesn't get anything at all. And if somebody were to go against the bill, not bill, but the violation, then that court would get some of the fines. I know one of the things talks about having control of the system, having control of the data. I haven't heard Joanne's presentation yet, but to me, I think the district would be worried about having control of that data because it has all the people's personal information. It's got their license plate number, pictures of them. One of the things the bill does, again, is allows so that stuff has to be all protected and then eliminated eventually later on. So, I just want to make sure I had that conversation that I think this is a great way to get this these cameras to protect the kids and protect families on buses at no cost, at free maintenance, and to be able to get these citations out without having to go out, confront somebody, get them to admit to anything. It's takes all the pressure off the district. There's no responsibilities for the district. It's just one less thing to do into many things we have to do. So I just want to say those parts, and I'll be glad to answer any questions later on if you want to ask any questions about the bill, concerns about FAQs about it, but thank you.
Thank you. I need a motion for one or all of the business considerations.
Make a motion for 6.1 through 6.14.
Okay. Do we have a second? Mrs. Burns, do we have any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion's passed. Need a motion for one or all of the personnel considerations.
Teddy, is that a donation on 16?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We can call down 2022 Earth Day grant for Ravena-Coeymans-Selkirk Middle School in the amount of $616 for from the Eastern Chapter of Air and Waste Management Association.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Make a motion for 7-1 through 7-8.
7-1 through 7-8. Okay, a second. Mr. McFerrin, any discussion? I do want to call out and congratulate Mrs. Capice on her appointment of principal for the middle school. I think that throughout the last year, she's done a really good job, and she's, from what I hear, we've kind of strung her out with 3 months here and 4 months here, and I think we finally, hopefully, can unleash all of the potential and good things I think that she has to offer our district. So I'm really excited to see what she's going to do. So congratulations. Yeah, all in favor? Aye. 8, we have no informational items tonight. Special reports. Just want to thank all the people that came out for the budget vote last night to support our propositions. We had all of our things that we put up to vote passed. So I think it's a good job by the administration. I thought we put out a good budget. So it's an exciting part and a stressful part that we can get past and look forward to next year. Any other board members have anything they would like to discuss? Go ahead.
Just wanted to kind of shout out to all the faculty and staff and support staff that helped out for the RCS Arts Festival that they held this past weekend. From what I saw of pictures and from what my family members told, because I was not able to go, it was a huge success. And it was really nice to see some of our returning RCS students come back and perform, and all the arts that were on display. It was a really great collaboration between the municipality and the school.
Great. Anybody else? I will turn it over to Dr. Bailey.
So in addition to what Tina has said, if March is Music in Our Schools Month, May is Music in Our Communities Month, Arts and Music. And that was, there were, I think, 5 of our groups directly linked with the school, and then lots of students involved in the other ones as well. And there was some of our art on display. And the art shows continue. There's one at Becker tonight. We have the 5K run this weekend. Lots of art shows going on, which is great. And the kids get a chance. There was an art show in the lobby here during the vote last night, and they purposely chose to put it in the lobby here in the high school rather than in the room where we vote. We've done it both ways, but really rationally, and something that I've been asking or hoping that they do is students walk by there every day. They live in this building, and the staff do. And to be able to see the students' work vividly every day when they walk by, it gives them a sense of ownership. Not that all those years of walking by the trophy cases with their 50 and 60 and 70-year-old trophies because their grandparents and their parents were on there, that's valuable too, and we have a lot of that still down near their gymnasium in the back hallway. But like I say, they live here, and the art exhibit will continue, for the next month as students are waiting before school and then walking back and forth to the cafeteria. So that's great. And I echo Teddy's statements. I'm grateful that the community came out to give voice about what they are interested in moving forward. And it's important to note that it's not a universal yes voice too. Assent is an important element of it.
I think it's also important to note that while we're grateful for those that did come out, it was not a very good turnout. Was it even 10% of our voting population? Not even close.
No.
I mean, that's pretty sad. We got to do something to get more people to actually show up and voice their opinion and have a say in this. I don't know what it is, but Unless something absolutely terrible is happening, nobody comes.
I think our highest turnout in the last 12 years is 3,000. And we were between 8 and 9 yesterday, I believe. And about 6 last year. Last year, of course, very exceptional. So I agree, turnout was low, especially for, even if you just included the families that are involved in the district. Personally, it was low, not including the other.
Even if you just took all the
8,000.
18-year-olds in high school, I mean, there's got to be 100 of them probably, right?
Yeah, just about, maybe more.
Yeah. We have to do something to get a better turnout. That's.
I also comment, as Tina just mentioned, that the year that we had the absentee, that was a big turnout. We had over 2,500 responses, and there was no, nothing crazy that year, but it was an unbelievable turnout just because people filled out their ballot and sent it in. So I wish the state.
Is that just telling us that it's not important enough for them to get in their car
I
and
know.
drive down here?
Yeah.
Oh, it's still an option to use that, right?
You didn't,
Did you have to have a reason, or could you just do
This
it?
year it was not
You
as
do have-
strict because of COVID.
You have to ask for
But it
them.
is limited.
You have to go, yeah, I had 220 absentee ballots sent out.
And
I got
about
back
77,
77.
yeah.
Even that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
They bothered to ask, but then didn't bother to send it
Yeah.
in.
Yep.
No, they register them at Albany County Board of Elections.
Right, they registered at
Yep.
the Albany County Board of Elections for absentee ballots, so they're automatically sent to us. It's not a necessary individual request to get.
They only request them if they're going on vacation and can't be here. I didn't get very many of those.
Okay.
So, Mr. Engelhardt's not here, so I'm gonna try and stumble through the cornucopia of things that are worth celebrating around instruction. First, I'd mentioned the Business and Entrepreneurship Pathway that we were seeking to get. It's an endorsement that goes on a diploma. So a student who, similar to the seal of biliteracy, meaning that a student has completed a course of study and a capacity to do that in 2 languages. We just got the acceptance acknowledgement today from State Education Department that we will be able to offer business and entrepreneurship as a pathway to graduation next year. So it's another layer on top of a diploma, allowing students that endorsement, and it may help them whether they're going to career or into to college or the military. So we're super excited about that, and Maureen Martin and some other folks, our business department and counselors, as well as Lisa and Herb, are working on some additional endorsements too. Along those lines, technology, construction, and things like that. Some of them are long-term, and as I talked before, some of them will entail us as we form our infrastructure committee, talking about construction. The new programs will be very relevant to what we're talking about. If we're going to do any component of construction, we're going to need to update our technology rooms. But that's good. I mean, I've said throughout, the needs for us in the classroom are what should be driving most of our construction. That and the building condition survey, we try and address both things equally to keep the building facilities safe and also to ensure that we're investing in some meaningful future planning. Similar like our fax rooms here, that's what we walk by every day when we come to the meetings. I believe today we had sent out the invitations for 5th and 8th grade moving up. Do that right, and we sent a save the date out for graduation with a little bit more information to come. We want to make sure that people are inviting their families to the right place at the right time. Right now, there are no large-scale COVID restrictions on public events. Last year, when we were in the big venues, they had their own, by law, they had their own regulation. They had their own guidance that they needed to follow, checking people for whatever. None of that exists right now. So it's open invitation. We'll be back at the Empire State Plaza Convention Center next year. There's no restriction on tickets. We've never had over capacity in there. We're moving our 8th grade moving up from our auditorium over to the new gym because we have always overfilled that facility, and it's proven to be uncomfortable for the families that are in there. People having to stand all the way around the room and in the back, and we have capacity for about 300 more people in this room.
So, question about that. Being in the high school, why can't we do it in the high school
for you?
The eighth grade moving up?
Eighth grade.
We've traditionally
Oh.
held it in there, but
You
it's,
think it's,
it's not large enough.
oh, really? Just because the bleachers are hard for grandparents.
Yeah.
Just
There's,
gonna throw that out there.
we will do some seating on the floor as well,
Okay.
understanding that people will not be able to climb onto the bleachers. We'll do a row of seating on both sides. But I counted the seating during the vote yesterday, and there's about 300 more seats in there
Oh,
than there
really?
are in there. It is, eighth grade moving up is a great celebration, but it is not by any means comfortable. It's like 500 people in this room. It's
Awesome.
not, it reduces the celebration. And we have AV in there that's really, really good right now. We have projector screens facing in both directions, so the AV will be good as well. So we're looking forward to that.
Brian, you said you sent out the save the date for the graduation.
Did that go to regular email? I didn't see it.
Dee, how did it go?
It went out in February, regular email.
And when did it go out?
February.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't just sent out. I'm
That was
looking
not-
now and I'm like, I didn't see anything.
No, but, sorry about that, Bill. It just came out. You should.
You just said it just came out.
The
Eighth grade one came just.
the rest of the information will be
Okay.
coming out. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing that they're planning is, that we have not been able to do is the walkthrough for our seniors to the elementaries and the middle school. I think they're gonna try and do that June 3rd, but, and they'll have their caps and gowns when they do that. That's been a great inspiring event to see the little kids watching everyone go by in their caps and gowns. We're wrapping up our athletic seasons, and as you can see, a lot of folks were at the baseball game tonight, and we've had a number of track and field events happening as well. So these last, you'd think that things would be winding down. For the next 4 weeks, things seem to be winding up. And we put out our end-of-year calendar. Because Peterby had the additional closure day because of the water main break, the last day of classes for the middle school and Becker is Tuesday the 21st. It's a half day. And the last day of school for Peterby is Wednesday the 22nd, a half day. The staff will still be here, but students will have those last few days off. And the high school is in testing during that time. Yeah.
And that's
Not non-use of the snow days, is that what it is?
Correct.
You gotta answer a question because it befuddles me. If the kids are off, why is the staff here?
It's contractual. Contractual for our instructional staff that they work with students 176 days plus 4 superintendent's conference days. So when that 180 days is up, the students stop coming, but our staff are here for the full calendar year. And there are lots of things we can do with them.
Well,
And lots of years we use all the days, and the kids
I
are
know,
there until
it
the last day.
just seems like you're using a snow day. They wouldn't be here on a snow day. Right?
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
My logic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any celebration?
15th, is that a holiday for?
That's a holiday, yes. It's a holiday, but it's not spoken to in a single contract in the district as yet. Not day of non-superintendents.
So,
It's a state holiday, isn't it? It's a state holiday.
state holiday.
Yeah, but for students, like we employees would have to
Go to work.
It's a
Not
state
called
holiday for state workers. It is not a state holiday, it's a mandate.
Didn't,
However, the capital district schools and BOCES have chosen to observe it last year and this year.
Do you guys have it off?
Yeah, they have
it's a day of
BOCES have-
non-student
Monday off,
attendance.
right?
Right,
Monday off.
it's a day of non-student.
And it doesn't reduce the number of school days. There's still 180.
Yeah,
Eventually, we throw enough holidays in that we'll have to go to school all year round, so we get 100.
Actually, there's a proposal with the commission, well, there's some places that do that. There's a proposal with the commissioner actually to allow the extension of school all the way to June 30th. What has traditionally been in place is the last days of school linked directly to the Regents exams. That, I mean, I have no idea how that would work. I mean, everybody has contracts that they address through their school negotiating teams, but it seems as though, to your point, Ray, the years are getting more and more packed. We have some years where we barely fit in. Like next year, we're proposing to start one day superintendent's conference day prior to Labor Day. And that's happened, it cycles along with where the 1st of September seems to land. We go like 2 years where we're able to start after, 2 or 3 years, and then 2 or 3 years we have to start before in order to fit in all 180.
We start in August next year.
They haven't done that yet.
It's coming.
When are you retiring?
What's that?
When are you retiring?
As soon as I can.
Frank's not here. You mentioned the business entrepreneur endorsement. Are there any additional classes that we are putting into play to meet that requirement?
There were 2, and I had it, I apologize, I had it in the presentation I had done for instruction, and they are already slated to be taught next year. And the other piece, I believe, bless you, there was a, like a work-based learning component where they had to have a certain number of hours of experience as well. I think there are 2 classes that we weren't currently offering that we're going to be adding for that. Thank you.
So, okay, we will turn it over to Mrs. Moran.
I will just go over the camera surveillance equipment that we talked about, that Mr. Miller spoke to, and I think the one thing that we all agree on is that student safety is very important. So I just wanted to let you know where we've been and where we are right now with our surveillance equipment. When I first started here, we had Angel Trax cameras, and they were hard drives in each bus, and you would have to go out to the bus and you would have to remove that hard drive to be able to view anything on it. And again, the video was poor quality. Very often it didn't work. So what we've done and been in the process of doing is upgrading that camera system to a new system called 24/7. And since I've been here, we've upgraded all of our buses now have all 24/7. We no longer have dual platforms for our camera systems. And that was as of this year. We took care of that earlier this year. Every vehicle comes equipped with 4 to 7 cameras, depending on the size of the bus and the vehicle. We did that with some of the ESSER money, if you remember correctly. That was some of the money, was about $114,000. Yes?
Are these cameras that are just inside the bus, or are these cameras that are outside the buses?
I'm speaking right now to cameras that are inside of the bus when we talk about the 4 to 7.
Okay, good.
And then as of 2019, we started adding stop arm cameras with all of the new buses that we purchased. Currently, 19 of our 44 buses have stop arm cameras, or 43%. We work directly with the SROs that are in the buildings. If there's a violation, we have had some success in issuing tickets. I don't dispute anything that Mr. Miller said. Safety is very important. The bus patrol program, while if somebody doesn't have any stop arm cameras, it's a free program. They do come in. They'll outfit all of our entire fleet with all of our stop arm cameras. But what would happen is they're not going to do some of the buses. It would be all of them. So we would lose about 19 of those. They take out the equipment that we already have. They will do all of the maintenance, everything else, but 24/7 currently does that for us as well. Well, they come in, they install, they maintain, they do everything. Bus patrol program, they are working with a law enforcement agency. They don't know who yet, and citations are issued. And again, it's not through DMV or traffic law, it's the citation, so there's a difference there. There's no points on a license if they get a ticket through.
What does it stop them from doing? They just pay a fine and it doesn't matter?
Yep, they do. They pay a significant fine that way, and they also pay a significant fine either way. But again, Mr. Miller is correct. They have to make sure that they can get somebody to admit it. They have the video evidence. And we have had success, our own SROs. Again,
No,
they do.
I'm talking the bus patrol program. There's no penalty. They just pay a fine
Yeah.
and that's it.
Correct.
So-
We don't,
Yep.
it doesn't stop.
Right, like, so the
Is there places that are using these that will tell us is it stopping behavior? Because to me, if you're not, nothing's in jeopardy except for I'm just paying a fine.
There are schools downstate, and I'm not sure if Matt knows any of them, but I know that there's 2 area school districts that are working through it. I know they have some concerns, as I would have with indemnification language and the current contract, the agreement between the county and the district, so that has to get worked out, but they haven't agreed to it. But there, I know there are several down in Dutchess County, I believe, in Suffolk County, am I correct? Yep. Okay.
They saw that today. They did get that language out today.
Okay. In the district, again, we take immediate action. We get to see that video. We lose that up. We don't get to see the video when it's bus patrol. They take care of that. We report it, or the minute The stop arm camera goes out, it starts recording. If there's an infraction, we would immediately reach out to bus patrol. They would do the investigation and take it from there. No work, no harm, no foul for our school district. Again, same thing with us. If we're on a bus, something happens, we go right to the SROs. They'll make a decision. They'll look at they come right over, look at the video camera. And the difference being is they immediately that day go to the house and speak to somebody. They knock on the door, somebody answers, they talk about it, and it's resulted in tickets being issued.
Taking the SROs out of our buildings.
Yep, doesn't happen all the time, but yes, it would.
I mean, that kind of defeats the purpose of having an SRO. The SRO is supposed to be here.
It has to be our SRO. There's 128 Albany County Sheriffs.
Right, but then here it says the SRO is the one that goes.
They have done it, but they don't have to, it doesn't have to be our SRO. If we had a busy day, they could give it to another police officer, it doesn't matter, but they will come over and look at the video footage for us, right in the transportation department. Some of the language was kind of confusing and they didn't know how to answer it, but it would require a private contractor companies to participate. I don't know if we can make them do that. We can't certainly tell them we don't need them, because we do. And then we don't have access to the footage. I understand the concerns from the county's perspective, but again, we have the footage, we get to see it, it's ours. It would cost us about $13,000 to get all of our vehicles fully upgraded with 24/7. We'd have one platform. Again, where we could make sure that we do them all 44 with the county program. Either way, no matter what way this district goes with, it does ensure safety for our students. We have all of our cameras, all of our buses will have those cameras. It certainly is safer for our families. We have 19 cameras. I hate to throw them away. They're brand new. It's only since 2019 and 20 that we've gotten them. We've had very good luck with 24/7. They're very responsive. I haven't heard anything bad about bus patrol either, but nobody's up here had them yet. They did straighten out the language with the agreement, so that's good. I know there was indemnification language, and the private contractor would be a concern for this district. He couldn't answer that when I spoke with him. And again, so what it comes down to is, do we want to invest in upgrading and equipping the rest of our buses with our cameras at our cost for $13,000? I know the two area school districts, and I really don't feel comfortable mentioning their names. They're large school districts, and one's right next door, if that helps. They don't have any. And we have 43% of our buses right now with stop arm cameras, so we have to just get rid of them or replace them, one or the other. I don't know if the county knows yet what law enforcement agency is going to be helping them. I don't think it matters. It's still safe for they go in, they identify that it's a violation, they can issue a citation. It helps.
Because if they say it's gonna be nothing against Coeymans, but the town of Coeymans police, there's like 4 of them. If they say it's gonna be the state troopers or the sheriffs, it's a significant increase in manpower and everything else. So I think it matters, and I mean, that to me would be one thing we have to wait on to know who that law enforcement group going to be. The other thing I don't understand is the citation part. If law enforcement writes the ticket, it's a ticket, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter who.
They're not writing the ticket, though. With bus patrol, they're identifying the fact that it was a violation and that they could issue a citation.
Who could issue the citation?
Bus patrol.
Bus patrol is a private company, it's not law enforcement.
Correct.
Why would anybody pay a citation from an outside company?
Goes back to my whole thing, is what behavior is it stopping?
If it's not something that's legally binding, that's gonna
Right.
prevent them from driving, put points on their license, cause them to go to court, why?
Right.
And a private company can't just write a citation and say, now you have to go to court and pay this.
They would have to go to court if they wanted to fight it.
They could do
They
it.
would.
Who would have to go to court?
The
If bus patrol sends me something in the mail, I look at it and I go, oh, just throw it out. What are they gonna do?
What's their powers?
I mean, it's not so much that, it still comes through the county, bus patrol actually does, the county sheriff doesn't have to sit and write out the ticket.
But it comes from the,
The information is from the county. And that's the one that Joanne's talking about. Is it gonna be the county that handles all the districts in the county, or do the individual municipalities wanna do it? Does Bethel wanna handle that?
I think we need to know that before we.
Right, absolutely.
nobody can answer that
I
yet.
100% agree.
So I think I don't think we can make a decision on this right now. I think we need to, figure out the actual logistics of it. Who's gonna be doing it? If we can dump the whole dealing with the technology piece and what do we want the video footage for? We're not in law enforcement, we're not in patrol. I'd prefer that have that on somebody else's plate, but I wanna make sure it's gonna work. The way I'm thinking is bus patrol isn't gonna make any money unless they're effective. Right? Because that's where they get their money, from the tickets. And we're not looking to make money out of this, who cares?
No, we don't.
just want it to be
Well,
safe.
why, and I don't understand if
Right.
if the county's not getting any money, they're the law enforcement agent that's working, but they're not getting anything out
I
of it
would
either?
think that they've gotta get a part.
That doesn't make sense to me.
I would think that bus patrol's gotta be giving them something for doing the dirty work. Otherwise, why would they
They're
bother?
using their credibility.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's small.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not
Otherwise, they
Albany
wouldn't
County
sign up.
Sheriff, so that's issuing this. No, it's the county. It's not Albany County Sheriff that's playing a role in this.
General fund.
well, yeah, I don't
Albany
care who
County.
gets it, where it goes. I just wanna make sure it's gonna be effective before we decide to do this. You know, if we throw out our cameras, we would throw them out, we'd sell them or something to get something back out of them. But I don't wanna do that until we know they're gonna have a legitimate law enforcement company working, or, you know, group working with them.
And we've encountered things where we thought that an entire shift of responsibility someplace else was gonna be the greater good, and then we had to regroup.
Have we?
And my fear is we would be throwing out 43% of this investment,
Yep.
that maybe it works well for a year or two, or then maybe things fall apart, and maybe there's capacity issues and all these other things, and then all of a sudden we say, this isn't working for us, we'd have to start all over again. So I'm more comfortable in holding until we have a lot more detail on what this looks like for 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, and then we can make a better educated guess about what that long-term impact is to the district.
We can get more information when they find that out, when they find out what law enforcement agency is gonna work with them. We can also find out what the success rating is on people paying. I know I didn't get the numbers, but I can get that. No problem.
Now, the other question is, do we already have in our budget for this coming year that we are investing in more cameras as a
Every
district?
bus that we buy, we are.
So the ones coming off the line would have them, not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So if we buy 6 more buses this year,
We just
then
approved 4 more and they will have
4
a
more.
full outfit.
we may be closer to 50%.
Right. Oh, yeah,
Because I would assume we're going to get rid of older buses that don't have cameras.
correct.
I mean, we're not looking to make a decision on this tonight anyways.
Nope.
We just need to gather some more information and some more specifics and details.
Is there somebody from bus patrol that can come in and explain?
Absolutely.
That's the one, and
Because
then
I still don't get the part with
Me either.
how they issue a citation through the county and the county doesn't get, I mean, any citation that comes from anybody, you go to court and the issuing, whatever, it gets, you know, the town or whatever.
Absolutely.
gets
They would be
the-
That's
more
why I
than
was
happy
asking
to
if
come
there's
and do a
other
presentation.
districts that are using it, I would like to be hearing.
The pros and cons.
Right.
What is the line of command for this, though? Is our agreement with the county, and the county is the one who employs whatever vendor they want to use? Or is it, this is the vendor endorsed by the county?
They did a bid
Okay,
and Bus Patrol won that bid. Am I correct, Mr. Miller?
This is what you said.
Yep,
it's endorsed by the county.
It's the contract with the county,
correct.
contracts with the.
And they did a bid and the county did a lot of work to make their selection, but they would be more than happy to come in and do a presentation. So why don't we do that next?
Okay.
Okay.
So there's nobody else in the county that's done this yet?
Doesn't like the past, like, it's like, right.
So there isn't anybody yet?
Not up here.
We're ready to go. We'll sign probably.
Yeah, I don't want us to be the first.
So let them try it for you.
Bigger ones too.
Okay.
Let them be the guinea pig.
We
That's
good?
it, that's exactly right.
Okay. New business? Anybody have anything they would like to add or ask? One of the things I want to put up there, and I think that we need to address or relook at, is kind of our organizational chart, and kind of, I think it's the communication process is where I'm going with this organizational chart. One, we've spoke about this a lot, I think, with community members and parents, and who's the proper person to speak to if we have an issue or a problem at school. So, you know, if a teacher or a parent has a problem at school, first we want them to speak with the teacher. And then if you don't get the answers, then you want to, you know, speak to the principal and work your way up. And I want to make sure that we have, you know, that communication listed on our website so parents can have it. So I think that's important. And then one of the things that we've spoke about as a board in the past is having an organizational chart of all our employees in our buildings. But I think there also needs to be a communication factor built into this organizational chart for our staff members, knowing who they need to speak to if they have a problem or an issue or something with school. Because, you know, obviously there's a lot of things that have come out over the last 2 weeks. You with the board and our lack of communication. And I want to make sure that, employees know who their contacts. Yes, board members can listen and board members can take concerns to administration, but we want to make sure that there's a proper communication path for all of our employees, from secretaries to teachers to bus drivers, and making sure they know who they need to speak to, their first line of communication, second line of communication, in order for them to get the answers that they're looking for. So I want to make sure, I don't know if that's something we put on our website for our employees or something we hand out to employees. I know that we have something on the website for, parents, but I think that's something we need to work on, I think, for staff. Just so they all know the proper lines of communication and where things go to. Because I just think when it comes to the board level, and whether we have a parent come to us or a staff member come to us, the first question we're going to say is, well, who have you spoke to about it? Well, I haven't talked to anybody about it. Well, board members don't, we can take concerns, but all we're going to do is ask the same people they would ask. So I just think that, if we get that communication out there, it would be better for, all our staff and go through it with our parents. I think we need constant updating so parents know who the direct line of communication should go through.
And I think it really speaks to when someone has a significant issue and they feel like they have not had it resolved, it helps them to actually show, I spoke to this person on this date and this person on this date, and then it's a lot easier to push that to the head of the line and say that this needs to be resolved, or at least have some sort of closure to it. So.
Page 2 of our wall calendar, the one that's mailed all households in the district, is the communications chart for families. And it's on our website as well. It lists athletics attendance, building use, curriculum instruction, materials, discipline, food service, health medical issues, registration, moving, homelessness, language learners, scheduling, school policy, school support services. And it's transportation and technical issues. And it's left to right, and it shows the progression of who you would speak to at each level of the concern.
Is that what the community members do?
But they might not have a child in the district.
Every household.
Every household gets it.
Yeah. Same ones that get our budget newsletter.
Just want to make sure that we're not leaving a group out.
Yep.
Unintended.
It is also on our website, and we could, we send out a weekly letter, at least for our families involved in, directly involved in the school district because of their children. We send out a letter every week. Every fourth week we can add the communications chart to that as well. That might be helpful. Mm-hmm. But I agree, and that happens. It happens at the board level, and happens to me also. People ask me to help with intricacies of something that the classroom teacher is much better suited to do because they have the firsthand knowledge. And then I just have to go ask the principal or the classroom teacher to try and attend to it.
Do we have contact information or like a specific email or phone number, so if someone gets to the point of frustration and not knowing who to contact, that they could just send an email to, like info@RCS or, a random email, or is that not something we wanted?
Deidre's been talking to you because I think she just last week was broaching the question of what happens if there's a PBC question email repository. You've gone through a process and you just don't know the answer. Who would that go to? The question is always, will people just default and dump 10,000 pieces into that, or will they actually seek out the person they need? So we're still working it out, but actually our communications person last week was talking about one for each building and for district office, and then where would that go? Who's going to check that in order to help people who just don't know? Like, I gave the list of stuff, but it could be something anomalous, building use or something that is on there, but that they didn't know where to go. So we're experimenting with it.
Just call it the switchboard. I don't think a random email is a good idea.
You might want to turn around, Brett.
Because then they don't know who's answering. You don't know if it's, if it's somebody that actually knows the answer, or if it's, there's no
authority behind it. You can do we have BMLs all over the place, and they're supposed to be manned by the responsible parties that log either the issue, the question, and they're supposed to escalate it the appropriate way. Following on to what Teddy said, It's great that we have an organizational structure and kind of on a planner, but is there any SLAs or any expected response time? So I think part of the challenge is not just who you're asking the question to, but how long you should wait for a response, right? So you don't want someone coming to the board, if they ask the question the night of the board meeting, they haven't given the responsible party enough time to, to research it to get them back the right answer, right? But you also want to tell them, you haven't been responded to in, 48 hours or 72 hours or whatever it is. But setting up that expectation will allow the individual to say, okay, it's gone through this level. I waited the time that I should receive an answer back. I haven't, going to the next level, right? So it's setting that up too.
And we've talked for years about the district being focused on customer service, and that the members of our community are our customers, and communication is the top complaint. It is the top struggle that we've been dealing with, and if we are getting mailboxes that are flooded, that in itself is an issue that needs to be addressed. That means that there's a problem in the communication and how people get where they need to go. So I don't necessarily see that as being a deterrent. It means that's something we have to reinforce. So
I just don't like the idea of a generic one, because I know I wouldn't send anything to it. I want
right,
to know,
no.
I want to know the name of the person I'm sending it to and who I'm getting the response back from.
Well, I think you have that, but there are people that are like, I don't know where this goes. It bridges 2 or 3 topics or 2 buildings, or it was something that I saw while I was just here visiting a sporting event. I just want to get that information into the district, or I got to talk to somebody who says, this is what happened, who do I talk to? And I think that we end up having people that go to multiple places for the same issue, and everyone assumes the other person answered it. And we have to try to limit that so that they feel that there's been a response.
I would say just start at the top.
No.
What's your phone number,
That's
Brad?
not the chain of.
Superintendent at RCS. Then he can disperse it to where it's gonna go. I don't know. I just don't like the random stuff. I think.
So another new business item, we had heard, I think it was last meeting, it might have been the meeting before, about pre-K, right? And about asking whether or not we could entertain going a full day pre-K. I think it's going to require some work, right? To space, budget, bus runs, whatever, all of it, right? Laying it out so that we can at least present it, and if it's something that the community and that the taxpayers want and want us to invest in, and we need to be able to at least demonstrate that we have heard what was said and that we have looked into it and provided at least some sort of rough budget as to what it would take in order to do.
Minimally, pros and cons. Yes, there's a lot of pros there, but from a district, it may not have enough to weigh out the cons,
I have
or
no
even the
idea,
availability.
But there's a lot of things that you guys are inherent to you, right? You're in the buildings, you understand the challenges. Space comes to mind, getting kids in and out, and then budget, because I know that we're not funded that way, so it would have to come out of our regular budget.
Yeah, it would just be something that we would, disadvantage, advantage, pros, cons.
Yep.
I mean, there's still a number of schools that don't even have full-day kindergarten.
Correct.
Isn't there legality issues about pre-K?
Yes.
Yeah. Limited to 18 with 1 TA. If you can go as high as 21 with 2 TAs and a teacher.
Also, you gotta be a certain age to be able to ride the bus, otherwise your parents gotta drive
Yeah,
you,
car
which
seat.
causes an issue. There's a lot of things. And it's funded out of a separate state grant or something, right?
Yeah.
Pre-K is totally separate from everything else.
All of them challenges.
About
but
60%
way out there.
of ours is funded by the grant. The rest is picked up by the district. And then the amount of money that the state gives us has not changed in over 15 years.
They did provide us what they would give us if we went to a full day, but still, again, we'd be at about 60%. We can give the board that information.
Well, right now, we only have probably 50% of the students that would come for kindergarten, correct? Or maybe even less than 50%?
As recently as 5 or 6 years ago, we would have waiting lists at both buildings, and that's not happened in the last, and it was pre-pandemic. It stopped before the pandemic.
Sure.
So, and we have a partnership with Circle of Friends too, which is a requirement. We're expected to have, contribute 10% of those grant funds to Circle of Friends to work with some of our students as well, which works well for some families because they want that partnership for daycare on the opposite side of the programming.
Okay.
Ken, one other new business, and I just want to throw it out there, is another kind of loose end that's been hanging out there for many years, and we talk about it at every meeting. But when it comes to transportation and the challenges that not just RCS, but every district has, and how they're competing against each other for drivers and keeping them, there's a lack of feeling that the community is getting enough information or getting enough ability to brainstorm with us. And I just wanted to throw out there whether or not there's an appetite for setting up a community forum or some sort of standing meeting where people can come in and talk and maybe share some of their ideas. Because I think there's a feeling that we've stopped trying and that we're not being creative enough. And we know a lot of these things are bound by legal contracts and all the things that make it very complicated. But how do we effectively get that information out to the community to know that that is one of our top priorities, if not our top priority, and that we value the input that they can share?
Yep. I do want to let you know that we have sent out an all-staff email about how they can become drivers, so we've done that. We just finished a flyer with Deirdre, our communications person, that's going to go out to every home about transportation, and we are working on it. It just doesn't. We just brought in somebody yesterday that applied for O&M, and we sent them over to be a transportation person because they have a CDL and they want to work. It's the people out there, but I love your idea, and we will pursue it. But we are actively trying. So.
And I think it'd be beneficial to share some of the constraints that you have, right? I think there's length of time that a child can be on a bus. So we can't simply just, because we have a reduced number of drivers, just put everybody, as many potential students on a bus. There are limitations with what we can and cannot do, right? And I think that information is not widely known, and why would you know that? But that kind of discussion and awareness may help, in at least communicating where we're at and what we're doing and what we're trying.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Anything else? As far as old business or new business?
The old business, now with the fuel prices going through the roof, are we getting anything out of the solar panels? Are they a waste of space? We've never really gotten anything back on.
Nope. We did talk to Mr. Schramm. We will update the board at the next meeting on the solar panels and how they're used and how they offset the price of our electricity. It'll be at the June 1st meeting.
And they have a life cycle too. Do they have to be replaced after a while, or the solar panels?
They do lose their life, but I don't have the information, but I will find it.
How long are they for?
Back when McCartney was here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was that again?
Back
Yes.
in
So
Yes.
I'm going to say started in 15, so in 13?
Wow. So we're coming up on 10 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Library,
Yep.
elementary, Peter B. Library.
So, a lot of, CRED has more comprehensive information, and on the first, we'll have some principals talking about their program in their building. They've done a lot of things prior to our last meeting in order to help students gain access to library materials at the elementary schools, both of them, including building, all of our students have Chromebooks now, including building a Google document that students can go in and request materials to either be delivered to their classroom or to go and get. But I've been reflecting a lot on this. The way library worked at the elementary school 5 years ago was a special, rotated into class, 40 minutes a week. And I think if we think back to our childhood, that's probably what we'd had to. And we were excited about going and doing it. The library was always an interesting place. Mine had an aquarium. That was great to see the fish in, and it was a different shaped room. It was like this. If you think about the things that we are most excited about, I described a few for myself, but what is it that we were so excited about in going to the library?
Getting books.
Getting books, but what's in them? Why? What was the exciting part of getting those books?
Find a story about anything.
Something you're interested in?
Yeah.
Yeah, explore something you hadn't seen, pictures and graphics and things that we never would have had access to, except for in a book. The bookmobile and the Scholastic Book Fair, I love those things. And about 4 or 5 years ago, through a shared decision-making process, we converted use of the libraries over to the STEAM stations, where students have a chance to do something different, go into the space, explore, see science, technology live in person and experiment, but not the same as the contact with books. But I think we would all agree that we did not find our love of learning in 40 minutes a week. We found our love of learning in the classroom, where the teachers were teaching literacy and interest in these wild places that you never conceptualized or saw before in your life. And that's where literacy instruction happens in our buildings, in the classroom, with our experts who do it every day, every minute of the day, whether they're teaching math, science, English, or social studies. They're doing it every day in the elementary classrooms. So the puzzle that we're trying to resolve is, how do we add to that and give students access to the printed materials? Because holding a book is different than reading a Chromebook. We all agree with that, or reading your phone, or reading a tablet. And I have to say, as we move into next year, the situation won't be all that much different. The schedules are very, very full. Elementary teachers have a lot to do. And with the dismissal protocols, because we have many more people picking up, we have a little bit shortened day with all the pickup. We hope to expand that again next year. And we'll be holding some reopening committees to talk about that and get back to a more normalized day. But literacy is being taught in the classrooms. The puzzle we're trying to solve is, how do we put books in the hands of our children? And that part that we've done, we've created a way for students to have access to them. Our classrooms have to take the time to do that in a very full schedule right now. And there are building aids that are helping with the distribution of books around that. It is not the same as 40 minutes a week, where students would go in and have a story read to them, or topics talked about, and then had them explore books. But the challenge that we're trying to do is trying to figure out how what we loved so much in 1980, 90, and beyond can be translated into today, where the stakes are so much higher for our classroom teachers every day. We definitely see a value in moving to project-based and problem-based learning that happens in the STEAM station. And there's no reason that can't be integrally tied to literacy and reading as well. But so there is access to books now. The teachers need time to help students access that, and that's not always, it may not be something that they can do or are doing on a regular basis because of the other obligations they have. But we have a plan in place to make that happen.
What's the plan? Because you've totally
Well,
lost me.
and so, and I also have, so my understanding was, and I want to know if this is, and Fred was going to speak to it. Are there books in each classroom?
Are there books in every classroom?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
There's books in
There's
each
grade
classroom,
level.
so we're not denying children
No.
access to books. We are denying them the opportunity because the teachers are too busy and can't bring them to the library. They can't get that kind, but there's books in classrooms. Is that true?
That's true, and the limitation is, and what any of us would complain about is, seeing this
Well,
from
that's exactly
8 years
right.
old is awe-inspiring. And having, in the classrooms, in a lot of classrooms, they have, I'm calling them grade level books, I'm sorry. Graded. Yeah. Level books, thank you. They have level books, so you might have a green bin or a red bin or an orange bin or whatever, and students themselves might have their own bins, and the books swap out. So they might have 3 to 10 books in there that they're doing. It just isn't the same exploratory as
Well,
what you'd
I
have in the
understand, but
library. It's like going to a foreign country when you go
It
into.
was presented to us like there's no books in the classroom and we're taking books away from kids. We're not affording them the opportunity to put their hands on books, and that's not.
Well, I would tell you, and again, based upon kindergarten teachers' perspective, right? With COVID, there wasn't book sharing.
Well,
There wasn't any of
right.
that. So maybe that went away, and maybe that's the perspective that individual had, was that there was less of that. I'm going to tell you,
We came to the last meeting
Yes.
and talked about
Yep.
today and now.
Yep. So, but that could be part of it, part of the reason. There are books in classroom. I would love to see a couple of different things come back. I know my children all did the books in a bag thing. They all had to read to get to 100 books, to get to 500 books. My kids are voracious readers, as you know, right? I want to see every child have that possibility, right? So we got to do that. saying that simply that you have a thing in place for kindergartners to be able to check out a book means that someone has to be with them to do
Well,
it.
this is what I'm
Time.
saying is we can build a roadmap for all of those things, but the
Right.
immediate need so that
I agree.
we are addressing it right here and now, and that we aren't sending it, kids aren't going into classrooms and can't have access to books, is put books in the classroom that they can get there, and that solves the problem immediately while we're building a
Agreed.
roadmap.
And
I will be here for the roadmap, but you'll be doing that.
And I would love to see Mr. Reader come back to kindergarten. That went away with COVID. People are not allowed into the buildings. Every Friday.
Oh, mystery reader.
Mystery reader is something that every kindergartner wants. They would love to know who's, coming in. Can't do it. I would love to see that come back.
I don't know who told them.
Well, I just think it was a COVID thing, and I think
Yeah,
that,
that's true.
again,
Slipped your mind.
so
Yeah.
let's just bring it back.
It's back on next Friday. You signed up, Mr. McFerrin, first week, next Friday. He's
I'll
ready
do
to
it.
go.
Give me an easy book, though. I just need an easy book to read.
Book with a lot of pictures.
I think we're at the stage where we have to start looking at what things the landscape was before the asterisks hit and where we look now.
Yeah.
Because there are some things that bore out of that may have been good, and we want to keep it, and that's great. But there's a lot of things that we did at a survival, and we don't want to return to it. We want there to be a return to the things that people were tried and true, and it brought the community in, and there was value in bridging those gaps. And if we're not there now, why aren't we? If it's still considered a safety issue, then let's address that. Or if we're coming up with a decision that we can't go forward with it, we need to have some sort of readout on that I know you like this, but we can't go back to that. And we're gonna have to own if those decisions are made, as opposed to just kind of, we'll get there maybe. Because we can't stay in maybe. We've gotta actually have an idea of where we wanna go. And if there's a back step, that's fine, we'll base it on science. But just kind of hanging out here now where we're saying graduation's fine, there's no rules, there's no regulations, it's free and free, everyone can come to meetings without masks, then why aren't we getting closer to where we used to be?
Yeah, but, and I will say, some of the changes we're talking about in the library predated the pandemic too. It had nothing to do with it. We changed scheduling of the day, we changed the purpose of the library. So I don't want to blame the pandemic, but a lot of the things did
Well,
disappear.
no, but you put the pandemic right after that, and it's just even more restrictions.
There's a total absence of them, yeah. There are very few restrictions now. We are cohorting our kids still, so we know where they are, but we've opened our doors very differently. And when I talk about graduation and things like that too, the rules outside of schools are different inside of schools, but we are clearly on a path to the way that we expect or want things to be. No one's asked me about mystery reader. I would weigh in on it right now, Bill. I'm serious. You can go
All
in
right,
on Friday.
putting it out there.
All right. Oh, you're going to be 6 feet away from everybody, but I'll let you go in.
It's all right.
But anyway,
Today's Wednesday, can I go Friday?
I think it's more of just it's an inventory, where we were, where we are now, and where there's gaps.
Yeah, and actually the building leadership team at Peter B met this morning to have a discussion about how they tackle this issue, the connecting the students with the materials that they need and talking about literacy and a love of books. And that's where that has to happen. I can't, I can help with COVID, but their daily stuff is exactly where the problem has to be tackled. So, and I think really what you're asking for, Dean, is like a projection so people see the roadmap of where we want to go, and even the staff, because they only had their meeting this morning. Even the staff are maybe not be completely aware of what their plans are, but we're opening back up. Things are getting back to a place where there's not as much stress about I can't do the thing that I love or I want to do. Instead, I can explore and say, how can I do it differently, or how can I add to what we were doing before? So we're getting back there, but and the addition of the librarian, what it will help do going into next year is right now we do have the middle school librarian is going in a little bit of 1 day a week to help weed and order books at both elementary schools. But it's not the same level of curation that we would have had if a librarian was there full time. So increasing the librarian's time in there too will also help classroom teachers, because they'll have an expert to talk through a subject matter. I know, the easy go-to for libraries is, we're doing a research project on the stratosphere. Can you please find me 40 books on this topic so my kids can explore all different level books? there isn't that presence there. So, and if that alone would make a world of difference in our classrooms, if the teachers could have that resource. So we know turning the corner next year, you know, that's part of the roadmap, things will be better.
I mean, I can't speak enough to the just basic level of responsibility that kids in kindergarten and first grade had to go through with their parents to remember library day and is your book in your book bag.
Yes.
You know, it sounds silly, but
Even that
those
is
are
right.
building blocks, you know, that if
Yeah.
you missed your chance, you're not gonna be able to get another book because you left your other one at home. And you know, it
Yeah.
sounds silly to kind of compare it to that, but I
No,
think
that's-
there's importance.
It isn't just about the books, it's about so many things. And really, when I talked about how exciting it was to go to the library, I still want to do that, you know, so the smell of the book and of the library, and so we want our children to experience that as well.
One more thing I'm gonna bring up and hopefully we'll move on. One of the good things that did come out of COVID is being able to broadcast things with our camera for different events.
Yes.
And I noticed when I was at the baseball game earlier that they had a camera and broadcasted live the baseball game from behind the screen, which is impressive. And I know we were looking into getting a camera, I think, for our football field, soccer field, and possibly looking into other cameras maybe for other sporting events. But some of the other things that we've talked about even tonight that made me think of this is we have 5th grade moving up day, we have 8th grade moving up day, we have graduation, which I think we probably tape, but do we live stream or can we live stream all of these things?
Also,
All right, perfect.
the camera in the auditorium, which is the same one that's in the gym, has been installed.
Okay.
So, and Shelley's done some research, surprising research, in addition to the moving up days, 5th and 8th grade. We know we can do the gym already because we do that with sporting events.
Yeah.
They've added the camera in the auditorium, and Michelle McLaughlin, the music art coordinator, discovered that there's a great deal of the repertoire that we are actually able to broadcast live.
Some of our concerts.
It can't be recorded, but we will be able to broadcast our performances live, which is a game changer as well. So
How do you broadcast it live without it being recorded?
there's an agreement through ASCAP. Oh, how do you broadcast it live without being recorded? You just broadcast it live. We don't archive anything. As long as we're not recording it and broadcasting and recording.
We don't, but it goes on, if you're doing it the way they typically do, it's on YouTube, and that is recorded.
You're right, Ray, we shouldn't broadcast them. No, what do you
I'm only saying, because I do the same thing over there, and we get the little flags all the time from YouTube saying, you can't monetize this, blah, 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 and we do it anyway, but I just keep saying, as long as the lawyers and somebody else is going to sign off on it, I'll push the button. But
ASCAP has permissions, and they have a list of repertoire that is included in that. Shelley checks that and ensures that we're okay, with the publishers in order to do that.
now the camera that's in the auditorium, the one in the gym follows the action, right?
Yeah.
Are either of them manually operated so that you can actually put it on what you want it on? Because if you've got a play going on and people on both sides of the stage going, it's going to, or
You wanna
miss
be
every-
able to focus in
sometimes
on
in
it
the
and-
game,
Yeah.
there's fans over there jumping up and down and you're missing the game. Is there any way to control it?
Don't know.
Either
I
one
think
of them?
that there is. While I was in there for the vote yesterday, I was thinking the exact same thing about moving up day. Don't you worry. A very hyperactive 8th grader in the 3rd row gets all the action. While the speeches are lost completely. I was thinking about it. I remember the basketball games with the,
Right.
The other thing with that is whether or not you have to have multiple accounts, because didn't we run into a problem where we couldn't have an outdoor stream because someone was streaming inside at a volleyball game or something like that?
There's something we'd have to have
But
really strong.
so it's just making sure that we have enough accounts so that we can stream in multiple locations on campus at once.
it could have been a limitation of our YouTube channel. I don't.
It
know.
could have been.
But you can set up as many as you want. I have 4 that I'm responsible for one athletics, one for.
This is after he drives the bus.
But that way people can go, there's one for the high school, there's one for the middle school, there's one for sports, and that they're not conflicting, so they know which one to look for, and you can run different things at the same time, and
Okay.
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
part.
It would also be really nice for the communication part, that if we know there's events that are coming up in maybe a week or 2 week span of time, that you put that on the website
Yes.
with the link,
With
or
the
at
link.
least where to find it.
Oh, that's key.
Yes.
Because I sit there on YouTube trying to type in RCS and just hit search and see what comes up from the last 4 years. And
You got a middle school play from 1942. Yeah.
I mean, you're correct. If we could send an email with a link, it would help, especially for grandparents who can't come or they live farther away and they're the ones that actually watch these things even more than parents do. A link would be helpful because that searching thing is
doesn't work.
Curious,
It's off.
as a lifetime musician, I am curious to see if doing this, which is the right thing, and increasing access to it, will do what it did at the budget vote, where people will just say, meh, I can
Not
sit on
gonna
my
go,
sofa. I might just want to do that. But, we always have really good attendance, and I think at least for our parents and people like us, we like to be there in person because we want to be able to hold our cell phones up and say that we recorded it too or something. But as the time goes on, I am curious to see what happens.
Okay. Thank you. We have no BOE committee reports. We have no policy adoptions or review tonight. We do have hearings and petitions. We ask that all comments be addressed to the board from the microphone on the podium. Please limit your questions or statements to 3 minutes. Any topics which fall properly under executive session will not be discussed in public session. We will start with Patricia Grogan, please.
I deal with 19 7-year-olds every day, and I have no problem, but adults, before you start my timer, if you can just be gracious with my time. I'm here as parent and teacher, so I'm going to try to stay within that. But so good evening to all of you. And first and foremost, thank you to all of the board members for volunteering to be a board member. Putting yourself out there for an unpaid position, ugh, it's not easy, and it's sometimes a thankless job, so I truly thank you. I wanted to share with all of you about a recent act of kindness, and I think it's important for the public to know also. On Saturday, May 6th, one of my students left his Mother's Day gift in the classroom when he left. I knew he was going to be really upset. I put the gift aside to bring home with me so I could deliver it. Well, I forgot it. So on Saturday, I went to my classroom to go get it, and I couldn't get in. I guess teachers do not have access to the buildings on weekends. I thought for a few minutes of what I could do, and I reached out to both building secretaries. They were unavailable. I then called Mr. Engelhardt and left him a voicemail. I was very reluctant to call him as I did not want to bother him on a weekend. He called me back within a few minutes. He was at his parents' house celebrating Mother's Day a day early, and without hesitation, he left to meet me at Peter B. He let me in, and with that said, I can't even tell you how happy he made this little boy. The little boy is a twin, so the twin was going to have a gift, and this kid was not, so it was huge. This right there is what administrators, teachers, community members, it's what we do for the kids. We do that, things like that first. So he's not here, but if he's listening, thank you. Okay, now on to business part of this. I want to discuss 2 big issues. At the last Board of Ed meeting, and Dr. Bailey, I think you got into my email and read this, and I'm just joking with you on that one. It's about the library. The last board meeting, a parent got up and spoke about the elementary schools not having a library. I was shocked at some of the reactions. Some were not aware of it, some blamed COVID, and other people were saddened by it. Well, everyone should definitely be saddened, and no one should have been surprised. This has been going on for 4+ years, and it has nothing to do with COVID, and it is not what the teachers or parents want or wanted. When parents or teachers complained about this, a Band-Aid was put on this problem. They allowed kids 5 to 10 minutes to rush through the library and quickly, without any thought or enjoyment, pick out a book. A TA or a BA was placed in the library to do the mad dash checkout. This too disappeared after the first year. Then COVID hit, and here we are trying to put another Band-Aid on this situation. Now we're asking teachers to teach kids who are 5, 6, and 7 years old how to go onto a computer and request a book which may or may not be available. As a classroom teacher, I have no more time to learn something new and then try to teach kids how to do it. This also should not be the responsibility of the classroom teacher. Our kids deserve a true library experience, not a 5-minute walk-in. This should be a designated time where our kids are given time to peruse through books at their own pace, and they should also be guided by either a library media specialist or someone who has knowledge of children's books. and what they have to offer. I'm all for STEAM but I do feel that we are pushing the importance of books and the experience that books can offer young children to the wayside. I know that library is not mandated for elementary kids, but neither is STEAM or PBL. If kids can't read and don't know how to engage with different text, how do you expect them to become more proficient in other areas? I could stand here all day and inform you of the known studies and data that show why a library is important for students. I don't think I need to tell any of you this. Our kids' face is stuck in a screen way too much. It's time to get their face out of the screen and put it in a book. I did a little bit of research, and all of our surrounding elementary schools still have libraries as special. To end this on a positive note, due to parents and teachers speaking, it is coming about that elementary buildings are trying to get library back in, and I just became aware of that today. So thank everyone for that. On a different note with library, this amazing, wonderful library is shut off to our high school kids 2 periods a day. I emailed I didn't write this down, this is not on script. I emailed Dr. Paterni to find out what can we do about it, because unfortunately the time my daughter is available to come, it's closed, and that's her only time. Dr. Paterni emailed me back and said, we don't have staffing. I emailed her back and said, well, can parents volunteer or something? I still am waiting for that response. The last Board of Ed meeting, my daughter sat here with me and it was brought up again. She approached Mr. Tedford and they tried to come up with a plan, which I'll be honest with you, I don't think they have resolved that plan, but I believe my daughter and Mr. Tedford came up with the plan, move study hall to library. I don't know. And the last thing I want to share with you, it's about COVID. How much longer are we going to continue to hide behind COVID and allow it to control everything we do? We choose Google Meets instead of in person. We're still forcing our kids to sit 6 feet and 3 feet apart at the elementary level, when I know for a fact it's only the elementary building that's really doing this. I understand that we are being told to do this, but in the real world, we are not doing any of this. And I'm not sure if any of you have been to the middle school and high school before or after school and at after-school activities. There's no social distancing going on. I'm not here advocating for it or against it, but I do think we need to start using common sense. Are we still enforcing this at the elementary level because our youngest are the most compliant? I'm not sure. And just to share with you so it can hit home an incident that just occurred and made me want to cry, yell, and scream. A student recently ended up with COVID, and the parents in the classroom were informed that their child was exposed to a COVID-positive person in the classroom and please take precaution. However, they were not told due to HIPAA who that person was, rightfully so. Well, when that child returned to school 5 days later and had to wear a mask for another 5 days, HIPAA's thrown out the window. Everyone in that classroom knew who it was. By making that child wear a mask for 5 days, you might as well have told the child to just put a sign around them saying, I had COVID. What made me so infuriated and upset was when another student in line pointed and whispered and said, stay away from that kid because they just had COVID. What are we doing to our kids? Because now we are pointing the finger to who had COVID in our classroom. There has to be a better way, and we cannot single our kids out like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Previous conversation, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
I didn't say that there was that. I never ever implied. No, I'm going to say it. I don't. This is transparent, right? This is what everybody was looking for. I'm not implying that it is the library. What I'm saying is they came to us and said kids cannot have books in their hands, and I'm saying if we have books in classrooms, a kid can put a book in their hand. That is what I'm saying. It's not a long-term solution. It is a short-term solution for a problem that is brought to us immediately. The whole election and all of that was all about transparency and how we don't respond. Well, I'm responding. I'm responding with what you don't want to hear, but I'm giving you the truthful answer of that. I offered, after the last meeting, I will go down, I will go into each classroom, and I will make sure that there are fresh books in that classroom. That is what I offered to do. So I'm telling you as a board member, that is what we do behind the scenes, and we don't announce it like this.
so back to why is this closed? Do we know?
Probably because of staffing, availability of staffing. I can find it.
But I mean, it could be just, you could put any person in here, right, and have it open. It doesn't necessarily have to be a librarian, but I mean, closing the facility is like closing a college library. Where does everybody go? You That seems a little crazy to me. It should be open all the time, even if, okay, we know the librarian or whoever's gotta have their break, but have a monitor, an aide or whatever sit in, just so the kids can still make use of it.
It's no different than lunch duty in my head, right? We wouldn't close the cafeteria because people have to have a place to eat. People have to have a place to go. So I would say that I'm in support of whatever it means to make sure that there's a body here, that someone's here so that this remains
Well,
open.
is there a study hall every
Yeah.
period?
Probably, but I don't know. I don't know, but again, just make.
Right? There's a study hall every period, and the study hall was here in the library.
Could be.
It's the first time somebody's asked me about that.
Seems like an easy fix, though. Okay.
The mask is not our rule, correct? It's a state ed county policy after 5 days.
The New York State Department of Health says if you have had COVID and you can
Right.
leave your home after 5 days, and you must wear a mask from 6 to 10 days. Yes.
Right, yeah, that's just something, again, I want to make clear, that's nothing that we made
Right.
the decision on, that's just the rules that we're following. And again, we're going to be transparent and communicate a lot better in the past. So at least we can make our thoughts known compared to what we've all been thrown under in the last couple of weeks. Elizabeth Robbins, and Mike, you want to go with her or after?
I feel your pain.
Just like Mayor's Cup.
Yeah, just one page, yes. It's okay, you're fine. You're fine, baby. Okay. I'll read it for her. Dear Dr. Bailey, Mr. Jones, and the board members, I think that we should have a bigger and better library. So if you're done with your work, and it should be a special to go, because some people do like to read, do like reading, but you say that we're the best school in the world, and I have a question to ask you. Why does the middle and high school in this district have libraries and PBC doesn't? I think what she's trying to get at is the time to go down to the library. They obviously have a library where STEAM is. Mrs. Klein, you had said that, there's books in classrooms, but they're very limited.
I understand that.
This is my time right now. You have a chance to speak when I'm done, please. It's limited, and actually, my other daughter, who's in 4th grade, Elizabeth's in 2nd grade, says they have the ability to digitally order a book to get them. They're never available. The teachers have problems getting books as well. So if you're limited to the books, they might have read the ones that are there. They might not be interested in them. You have a wider variety here. I'm glad that you guys are speaking about this and talking about this, but this was my daughter doing this on her own. She called me Monday at work and said, could you bring me to a school board meeting? And I was like, sure, why, A little background now, not last year, the prior year, she's had an IEP for reading, okay? Last year, it was taken off of her IEP, not because she got better at reading, because we didn't have any reading teachers available for her. And her mother, Erin, my wife, did an awesome job. We did remote schooling with both our young kids and got her into the reading to the point where going to the library, like Dr. Bailey said, there's something about a library. You can't get it off a tablet, your phone, a laptop, and she's excelling. Her proficiency in reading is now, after spending last year at home, is at grade level. So it's not necessarily have to be in a classroom. It could be at your home or at a library. we all know the importance of reading to succeed in all aspects of school. So anything that may prevent a child from the ability to go into a library to get a book to read is unacceptable as a parent, you know. And I know you guys are on board with this, you know, but this has been going on for 4 years now, and we're still at that stage. I would hope that we could figure it out fairly quickly, because while she's doing better and she gets tons of books, and it's a great investment for me. It's better than any stock market right now, it looks like. But we really got to prioritize this and straighten this out for the elementary. The high school and middle school, they got libraries. They could come down and utilize them better. It's not so much in the elementaries. I can only speak for Peter B., but would hope that we could get this thing figured out rather quickly, and would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for writing us.
Upcoming activities, 6/1, BOE meeting here in the high school. We will be going into executive session, but we will not be taking any action when we come out. So I need a motion to go to executive session. Mrs. Klein, Mr. McFerrin, all in favor? All right. Thank you.